Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It makes her life seem worthless.
Their mother died in provincially run housing for people with complex needs and wasn't found for 11 days. A CBC News investigation reveals serious gaps. Plus, as violence between India and Pakistan rises, people in BC call for calm.
We're all friends and neighbors here.
We're hopeful that someday, pretty soon, peace will reign in the area.
And
it was the worst Easter we ever had.
businesses and communities that rely on cross-border travel look for help as far fewer Canadians head south.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. A CBC News investigation is revealing major gaps in provincially run housing for people who live with complex care needs. That includes one case where a tenant, Diane Chandler, died and was not found for 11 days. The CBC's Michelle Gassoub has our top story.
When Diane Chandler moved into the Foxglove Complex Care Housing Facility in 2023, her children hoped it would be a safe place for their mom, who had long struggled with depression and addiction.
I think the main thing for me is just making sure it was a safe place.
But Chandler died of an overdose in her room in April of 2024. Documents obtained by CBC News through a Freedom of Information request reveal it took 11 days for her body to be found by staff, despite several wellness checks that stated she was alive and well.
It just didn't make sense to me that you could go 11 days and not see someone like come out from the front door or like walking around. If they knew my mom and knew what she looked like, how can you go 11 days and not seeing her and not suspect something is wrong?
Emails between BC Housing employees reveal staff had mistaken a different tenant for Chandler. They only realized their mistake when they found that tenant dead in their room, and soon after found Chandler deceased as well. The emails note there has been an issue with casual staff who are less familiar with residents, and the family is quite upset and may escalate the situation, including potential media.
It took having someone die to find out that my mom was dead, and a casual employee was in charge of that, and no one felt like telling us. It makes her life seem worthless.
Chandler's family only learned of the delay through a cremation service that helped with her funeral. When they asked Foxglove what happened, a staffer apologized by email, saying they were deeply ashamed.
The healthcare services are all provided right here on site.
When Foxglove opened in 2022, it was lauded as an innovative solution for people with complex health needs. Through the FOI request, the CBC has reviewed critical incident reports for 8 overdose deaths at the facility, including Chandler's.
The need for people to use continues to be there. The challenge is not whether it's the housing or not. The challenge is the mental illness and the addiction that we're all trying to grapple with.
Chandler's children say they believe a culture of open drug use at Foxglove fueled their mother's addiction.
People who have mental health problems and who have drug addiction are not worthless, and the way that our systems put them into these housings and just let them live is not how people get better.
Breaks my heart, that's how she went.
They're now left wondering whether the province's approach to housing enabled the drug use that eventually killed her. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC's Premier has appointed a retired judge to look into improving safety at large public events. This move comes after the deadly attack at Vancouver's Lapu Lapu Day Festival. As Katie DeRosa explains, critics said the province is not acting fast enough, though, to address mental health issues.
In the aftermath of the Lapu Lapu Day Festival attack, which killed 11 people and injured 20 more, concerns about how to ensure future public events are safe.
I also acknowledge that there will be hesitancy going to larger crowds.
Win Daikegan, who is providing support to victims of the tragedy, says the Filipino community wants to hold large celebrations in the future without fear. Premier David Eby announcing Wednesday that retired Chief Justice Christopher Hinkson will lead an independent commission on improving safety at public events, reporting back by June 30th.
To maximize safety, but not retreat from the fact that we all have to get together and celebrate.
Eby says the province is coordinating with the organizers of a Filipino cultural event, the Pinoy Festival in Burnaby, set for next month, to address any safety concerns. Already, a Filipino street festival in Ottawa planned for later this month has been canceled out of respect for the victims here and because of safety concerns. But Daikigen, who is involved with the Pinoy Festival, says they ruled that out.
It is a space, an avenue for the community to come together.
Festival organizers say they have additional safety measures in place, and Burnaby RCMP will be there. Eleanor Sturco, BC Conservative public safety critic and a former Mountie, accuses the Premier of scrambling for a solution that fails to address the underlying mental health concerns. The suspect in the attack, Kai G. Adam Low, had dozens of interactions with police and mental health workers and was under the care of a mental health team.
Even bollards, even concrete blocks, even dump trucks cannot protect everyone if there is someone with a severe mental illness and violence.
A sense of frustration echoed last week by Vancouver's mayor.
Come up with another commission, come up with another report. They're important, but let's come up with action now.
Ken Sims says in a statement the City of Vancouver and Vancouver Police Department are conducting their own internal review on event safety, with a preliminary report due next week. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
It is a small-town feel in a sprawling urban space. The village of Anmore is inside the boundaries of Metro Vancouver, but is pretty isolated. A proposed development, though, could triple its population. Still, as Justin McElroy explains, it's led to a big split in that community.
Anmore. It's a village an hour from Vancouver, on the way to Bunsen Lake, and is so boring that the last big media story on anything happening there was town outrage over a massive house party with helicopters and influencers. But now politics in Anmore is as heated as it has been in years. And like a lot of BC, it's about housing.
It's just a matter of time before we're just like Port Moody.
That is Neil Lyons, director of the Anmore Residents Association. And the thing that would put Anmore down the slippery path to Port Moody? A proposed development of 150 acres of mostly forested land, which would have 2,200 housing units in a mix of homes, townhomes, commercial spaces, and apartments 6 stories or less in size, while connecting Anmore to Metro Vancouver's sewerage system instead of being on septic. It's the type of proposal that is pretty common if you're in Vancouver, Surrey, or Richmond, but people don't move to Anmore for that.
I like the rural ambiance and I like the quiet. I just love the feel of the community, and I believe everybody here feels that same way.
The owners of the land are Icona Properties, and not surprisingly, they see it different.
I think they like their lifestyle that they have here. And, you know, I'm sure when my parents moved to Poco in 1970 and it was 19,000 people, they liked that sort of semi-rural character that they had. But we've all grown as a region.
That is Greg Moore, who used to be mayor of nearby Port Coquitlam. Now he's Icona's CEO. And he thinks most residents in Anmore actually want what they're pitching.
We hear from a lot of people that are the silent majority that want the community center, they want commercial, they want to be able, when their kids leave their home, that they don't have to leave Anmore.
Of course, people opposing the project believe they are the silent majority, which is why they're calling for a referendum.
We're grassroots democratic people in Anmore, I believe, and I think that the people really want to be asked that question, and they seem to be avoiding it.
But traditionally, referendums in local politics are only around financing projects or big governing issues, not land use, which means it will be up to council, and they seem inclined to support a change that would make any rezoning legal.
I'm very hopeful that if people can get over this elitist bent that they're trying to keep those less fortunate than ourselves out of the community, and start to see that young people can rejuvenate our schools and bring color to the community, I'm hopeful they'll come together and understand positives to something different there.
Of course, it can be hard to get people to come together if you imply they're elitist, but if you look at home values, the councillor has a point. Here is a chart. It shows the median listing price of all single-family homes for sale in Metro Vancouver municipalities. And because of how big the acreages are, Anmore is right near the top of the list. One thing is for sure, Anmore is different from most places in Metro Vancouver. The question for council is whether that should change. Justin McElroy, CBC News, Vancouver.
On Vancouver Island, a teenager has died after a vehicle hit them on the Trans-Canada Highway last night. RCMP and the Cowichan Valley say it happened around 8:30 Tuesday evening in Duncan on the highway near Trunk Road. They believe a semi-truck was traveling south and hit the 17-year-old pedestrian. Police say criminality is not a factor. Last year, the BC government proposed to build an overpass near that stretch of the Trans-Canada to provide a safer option for people to cross the road. Now that plan has been shelved. The province says the immediate solution is to place railings up to stop people from crossing where they shouldn't.
It's not a question of cost. It's a question of what can you do now that will be effective the fastest. And those barriers are affordable, but they also are very, very effective.
Data from ICBC from 2019 to 2023 show the Trans-Canada Highway and Trunk Road intersection has the highest number of crashes in Duncan with 248. Tensions are soaring between nuclear-armed neighbors India and Pakistan. India launched airstrikes overnight Wednesday on Pakistan and territory it controls in the disputed Kashmir region. Dozens of civilians were reportedly killed. Pakistan claims it shot down several of the attacking planes. The strikes were in response to last month's massacre of tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir. India accuses Pakistan of orchestrating that attack, which it denies. The Office of Pakistan's Prime Minister says he has authorized the military to take, quote, corresponding actions for the strikes. British Columbians with roots in India and Pakistan are reeling as tensions escalate between those countries. As John Bailon reports, they're calling for the violence to stop.
Jatinder Ban in his Coquitlam home, trying to understand the latest violence to erupt in his home of Kashmir, where he immigrated from decades ago.
We're hopeful that peace will reign in the area and that we're able to, with respect, go back and live peacefully with our other members of the community.
The same sentiments are being expressed at this Hindu temple in Surrey, following the escalation of violence between their home country of India and neighboring Pakistan.
In Hinduism, this is what we are taught, that entire world is our family. So we are worried for each and every person who lives in India or anywhere else. And we do not want any killings, we do not want any war. And again, personally, I pray for the peace.
India and Pakistan's dispute over Kashmir has lasted 80 years. BC is home to many people from the region. Academics who study the diaspora here say it can lead by example, showing how Pakistanis and Indians can live in harmony.
There's been a real diffusion of animosities, and people have found relationships and friendships and common ideas with Pakistanis and Indians here in Canada. We haven't seen any escalation of any animosity in Canada between the two.
Other groups are also calling for an end to the violence.
I have many friends from India, many friends from Pakistan, from people from all over the world, and everyone is disturbed. Everyone is really worried about the situation there, and we have to get out there, speak up, but also to remember that we're all friends and neighbors here.
Now, people here say the violence between India and Pakistan is especially worrying since both nations have nuclear weapons. They want peace and hope the bonds they share here can be an example back home. Jonna Bailon, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius Madavi is here with a first look at the weather, and we already have a fire ban.
That's right. This is a Category 2 and 3 fire ban, so campfires are still allowed, but fireworks and any of those larger items are banned in the Caribou Fire Center. So this large region in central and southern BC. If we take a look here, we can take a closer look at the region. You can see many areas, Quesnel Forest District, Chilcotin, Central Caribou region, a lot of areas that now are under that ban, and it's because we have seen some drought conditions in some of these areas, or at least suggestions of drought conditions, which we may see more of in the weeks ahead. We should get the next snowpack report in the next couple of days, which will give us the first really sense of the drought conditions moving forward. And again, high fire danger in some of these areas and up in the northeast, although no ban there yet. In terms of what we're seeing on radar, a little bit of precipitation in parts of the interior, one errant lightning strike, and here on the coast, a couple more lightning strikes, really just northwest of Squamish, as well as northeast, and you can see them coming up here as well. Maybe seeing more of that in the next few hours as well. Dan, we'll talk more later in the show.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Pain on both sides of the border as more and more Canadians forego a trip to the U.S. Businesses and communities that rely on those trips are pleading for help. Stay with us. Far fewer British Columbians have been heading to the U.S. recently. Southbound border traffic is down significantly over April, by at least half. And as John Hernandez reports, businesses and communities that rely on those trips are wondering how they will hang on.
Peter Raju has been running his duty-free shop on a skeleton crew.
We only have 2 employees on an 80,000 retail square footage, and it is pretty sad.
Traffic at the Peace Arch border, where he's operated for more than 2 decades, has dwindled, largely because fewer Canadians are making the trip south. In April, just over 98,000 BC vehicles traveled south into Washington state. That's down from over 200,000 vehicles just 1 year earlier, a 51% drop.
It was the worst Easter we ever had. We were down pretty close to 80% in business. Like even look at today, it's a beautiful weather outside. There's no traffic, the store is empty, the shelves are full. but there are no customers.
Well, I had like 10 sales on the Friday of the Easter long weekend.
It's a similar story for Cameron Bissonnette, who owns the duty-free shop at the Osoyoos border.
The problem for us is that we took such a beating during COVID when the border was essentially closed for 2.5 years. We weren't out of that yet, and we were still paying down debts and all this kind of stuff. And then we get hit by this next wave of people not crossing the border, and it's extremely challenging right now.
On the other side of the border, whole towns are suffering. In Blaine, the lack of tourism is a financial blow to businesses and the town's bottom line.
When it's down 50%, 40 to 50%, it makes a huge difference, both in terms of just the spirit and the liveliness of the town per se, but also in our sales tax. Sales tax is one of the two main sources of funding for our city.
These towns want Canadians to know they're still welcome. Meanwhile, these duty-free shop owners say they are calling on Ottawa and the province for emergency relief to help them get through a challenging time that has no end in sight. John Hernandez, CBC News, Surrey.
Several agencies are trying to figure out what led to a mass fish kill in a Burnaby Creek near the city's border with Coquitlam. As Amelia John shows us, some residents say hundreds of young salmon are dead, and it's happened before.
Stony Creek on the Burnaby-Coquitlam border is usually a place where people come to enjoy nature, but they're being confronted by a mystery. Young salmon are dying off.
I'm tired of walking the trails and meeting my neighbors and having them in tears saying, oh my God, there's a big fish kill, you got to do something.
This isn't the first time local stream keepers say something like this has happened. Back in 2021, hundreds of young dead fish were reported. Locals say they're struggling to understand why it seems to be happening again.
I saw heavy black tar trapped in a containment boom that's at the culvert, but unfortunately the containment boom was releasing some of this tar into the creek, and I would watch it spread downstream.
The waterway is a haven for young fish like coho and chum salmon.
There's also the Nooksack dace, which live in this creek, which is a type of fish. The only place in Canada where they live is here in the Burnett River.
Susanna Kovacic is also a chemist at Simon Fraser University and has been monitoring the water for various chemicals.
So I've been looking at hexavalent chromium, which is a carcinogen that is present in concrete. So when concrete is being poured, hexavalent chromium can get into the water that washes across that concrete.
It's not clear what has caused the fish to die, but some residents suspect runoff from nearby construction sites may be a factor. On Tuesday, officers from Environment and Climate Change Canada were on scene to investigate. The city of Burnaby says it will issue fines if a business or person is found to be responsible. Amelia John, CBC News, Burnaby.
From one waterway to another, a view from the docks of Daniel's Store and Marina all the way up at the top of Seymour Arm on Shuswap Lake in the BC interior. The sun glistening off the lake and a pleasant 21 degrees Celsius. Darius will have your BC-wide weather forecast coming up.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
CBC celebrates Asian Heritage Month through the language of movement, where every step tells a story. Throughout the month of May, we're shining a spotlight on Asian dance groups, showcasing the dynamic blend of classical, folk, and contemporary dance forms. These talented dance groups share their cultural heritage through stories and traditions, knowledge, and technique. Read and watch their stories at cbc.ca/bc.
Darius Madavi's here with our BC-wide weather forecast. You have precipitation on that.
Yes, a little bit. You know, a few showers popping.
It's good for the garden, as we say,
Very
right?
good for the garden.
We need it.
Good showers. There'll be more of that at the end of the weekend or early next week. It is shifting later, so maybe not on Sunday after all, here in Vancouver at least. Now, if we roll this forward, you can see the next couple days, we get, some unsettled conditions. So a few showers pop up in parts of the island, but for the most part, we're looking at cloud coming in and out. This model, I think, at least the way I'm displaying it, is overstating the amount of cloud a little bit. Most places will see some sunny breaks for sure over the next couple days, especially tomorrow. But expect, especially if you're on parts of the island, North Island, northern half of the island, expect that you could see some showers pop up as well. We're also seeing some rain in the interior, including some much needed areas, a few showers. We have also seen a couple lightning strikes. That is something to be aware of, something that we'll be watching for, especially as we get into tomorrow. But that chance does drop significantly after today. We may see some in the early morning off the west coast of Vancouver Island or up on the west coast of Vancouver Island or up in the northwest. But for the interior, things look calmer tomorrow. And some showers on the way, like I said, early next week. In terms of those temperatures, here we go. We're going to see a bit of a drop, especially in the southern interior tomorrow. Then temperatures will quickly start to recover as we head into the weekend, but no promise that they're going to remain high for long. They may drop again when we see that next wave of precipitation. On the coast, though, temperatures not really recovering above seasonal, so sticking around 16 degrees for most of the lower mainland, as well as the South Island and east coast of the island. Here are conditions for tomorrow. Again, watch out for that lightning in a couple areas, but for the most part, pretty calm. We're seeing some lightning up in many spots as well. And if we zoom into our 5-day forecast, Dan, we can see here in Vancouver, for the most part, looking at a little bit of sunshine the next couple days. Temperatures slowly climb a little bit, especially for those inland areas, and then those showers arrive.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube, and of course our website, cbc.ca/bc. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. It starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Good night.